The following program is brought to you by the 0DB Movie Podcast feed. Hey, and welcome back to episode 3 here on the solo set on the 0DB Movie Podcast feed. We are discussing Netflix series right now, and the one I chose to discuss is Altered Carbon. We're up to episode 3, and it's going pretty good so far. I'm enjoying it. It's got some intrigue and murder mystery, and it's starting to get a little deeper within characters, and now we're starting to intertwine and look at the whole web of things. I did watch the whole thing already, so I can tell you it's only getting better. So let's jump right in. Episode 3 of Altered Carbon. Episode 3, In a Lonely Place. So, pretty much the opening is kind of been the same as the other ones. Philosophical opening. Getting into talking about the stars and going up to the stars and new things, but yet at the same time, you're bringing those monsters with you. So this kind of sets up what's happening coming up. So once again, we see the childhood siblings of Tak and his sister Ray. They're kind of telling stories to each other, and she has Tak tell her this story. It's a weird story about the Patchwork Man. This is the first I hear of it. So I'm sure it's going to have to be something later, because as they're talking about it, then you kind of see their parents walk in as they hide in the closet, and you can see that the dad has been beating the mom. So talking about monsters and things like that, something's going on with their childhood. Meanwhile, Poe makes Kovac aware of them being filmed, Kovac and Miriam, how they did in the last episode. That's how we ended. Bancroft arranges a dinner party with all of Kovac's suspects, so he can interview all of them in person. Bancroft he's kind of busting his balls, hey, what are you doing? Well, let me guess what you're doing. I'm going to have a party with all the suspects, and you're going to come and you're going to talk to them. So Kovac is kind of fine, I'll do it. So in the meantime, Kovac also has Poe, the AI hotel guy, install some software to basically install some software for psychosurgery therapeutics. And, he asks if it's for him, and he says no. I'm getting a feeling that it's for somebody else. Meanwhile, Ortega is invited to Bancroft's dinner party also, and she finds... First of all, she finds it repulsive because she has to fill out these permits or sign off on permits for extreme organic damage event, which we found out that organic damage is basically sleeves or bodies fighting. So she was specifically requested for that. She's kind of pissed about it, but she goes anyway. So Kovac goes to Elliot's to basically hire him to help him in exchange for helping with Lizzie. So he's like, look, I need some guys to have my back for this party. I'm also going to get this psychotherapeutic thing for your daughter, Lizzie. So Poe's going to take care of her in that, and you're going to take care of me in this. So now Kovac is starting to kind of get together. I wouldn't say a team because it's one guy, but it's one more guy that can help him. Elliot's unsure and doesn't really trust Kovac, but he does agree because he wants to help his daughter, Lizzie. So Ortega takes this opportunity to investigate Mary Lou's death at the party because she thinks it has to do with the meths. So she's like, all right, fine. She fell from above. It must be one of these people must know who she is or what happened. So she's like, I'm going to go begrudgingly, but I'm also going to try to investigate this Mary Lou's body's death. So basically, Kovac and Elliot go and purchase some crazy-ass weapons from this guy somewhere, and And then they go back to the hotel, and Elliot is basically got a TV set up where he can watch Poe start to work on Lizzie. Basically, he's like puts her in the VR world, and apparently he's going to start healing her of her mind going in this crazy loop, which is pretty crazy. Meanwhile, Elliot thinks that Bancroft had something to do with his daughter disappearing and her daughter's not real death, but sleeve death and the mental mess up. You know, her brain's all messed up. So Kovacs and Elliot go to the party. He has Elliot go in disguise. He ends up disguising like a waiter, which he didn't think he was going to do, which is pretty funny. But he's got him walking around with drinks. Kovacs is kind of walking around. We're at the party. You can kind of see this like elites and like this whole like, you know, very rich people type party thing. Everyone's dressed almost like Romans, which kind of gives me a little like, you know, it brings you back to the Roman days and the whole like how they were so separate from the bottom people, you know. So a typical meth party with all the fancy crap. I think they're eating some kind of a lion or a tiger or something with the meat exposed, just to give you a feeling of how like meth they are, you know. So Kovacs follows Miriam into like a corner or an area, and he's like basically like, "Hey, do you realize we were getting spied on?" And she's like, "Oh." She doesn't seem surprised, but she's also seems like she didn't know about it either, the way she responds to him. So now Kovacs is a little weirded out. So then Bancroft comes over and, you know, they're all talking. He wants to meet with Kovacs in private. So he's like, you know, come up to my room later so we can discuss this. So he pieces out. Ortega's still snooping around, watching people and like talking with her partner back at the cop shop, and he's supposed to be scanning cars and people and who was there because she's trying to investigate this flying girl murder. So next we see Ortega questioning basically what is going to be the two people that are going to fight for this extreme organic damage situation. And Kovacs shows up also, and quickly we find out that basically this is husband and wife. They're fighting for money. They're doing it for the money for their kids. They have a 5 and 7-year-old, and basically what happens is the winner gets a new upgraded sleeve, the loser gets a downgraded sleeve, and they just keep doing this as like an act so they can make money. And like, so Kovacs and Ortega are like, wow, you know, are your kids used to seeing like new faces come home every night? And they're like, oh yeah, they're used to it. They're 5 and 7. But then Kovacs and Ortega at the same time say they're not used to it, which is like the first time you see them kind of agree on something on the same page type thing. So they kind of look at each other like, oh, that was weird. So that's kind of crazy. You know, they throw little things in every episode to kind of be like, oh, that's cool. It's the future or whatever, you know? So Kovacs and Ortega bicker some more, basically at each other and what's going on and who they are. And, you know, it's getting a little old how cranky she is. So hopefully we find out soon why. So we basically keep seeing all these people eating their food and their drinks and the whole Roman god style and all these weird kind of looking glasses and all this stuff. We get the gist of it. Kovacs meets with Bancroft in his like private area, and Bancroft, like Kovacs comes out of the gates really hard with like, you know, you're shady, you like strangling girls. Bancroft is like, look, I do shady stuff, but I didn't kill anybody. I don't kill these girls, and I have nothing to do with that chick. So in the meantime, we kind of see in the distance that his son is being drunk and like acting like a typical rich kid, drunk kid that, you know, doesn't care what he's doing. Kovacs is really kind of digging into him like, oh, you know, like maybe your kid did it. And he's like, nah, he's useless. He won't do it. So somehow Bancroft ends up telling him like, you know, God is dead. We have taken his place. You know, basically these rich people who keep living on forever. And then he just says to Kovacs, like, you know, stop your bullshitting and get to investigating. Start talking to these people, figure it out, because someone in this party here knows something, and that's what I hired you for. Technically, that's what I bought you for. That's what he keeps kind of telling him. So Kovacs now is walking around. You see the montage of him talking to different people, you know, like, oh, I don't know why that would happen, or whoever killed him should get brought to justice, blah, 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 this and that. He's talking to everybody. Everybody still seems a little, giving him the answers he needs, but not the truth. So as he's walking around, he kind of sees Miriam walk upstairs all shady, and he notices her, but she doesn't notice him. So he follows her, and she's in this, he finds a secret door, the old school Scooby-Doo bookshelf that opens up. He goes inside and sees Miriam pretty much, not pretty much, straight up getting banged by the security guard. So Kovacs walks in. She doesn't even react that crazily. The security guard is like, hey, and she's kind of like, it's okay. So he starts questioning her, and he realizes before she realizes that he knows that she is not Miriam. He finds out that it's Naomi, her 12th daughter, and she's taking her mom's sleeve out for a joyride. She's like, well, my mom's got all these upgraded things. I love taking her body for a ride. This is really great. So Kovacs is like, oh, well, the only people who had access to Bancroft's safe and all his information that night of his death are him and Miriam by fingerprint. So how do I know you weren't wearing your mom's sleeve and killed your dad? So she basically lays it out how much of a scumbag he is. None of them are on any type of will and testament, anything. So basically, if they kill him, they get nothing. So it's up to them basically to keep him alive. That way, they keep getting their allowances, if you will. Because if he dies, they're all cut off. So that kind of takes away his kids. What has he got? 22 kids, 21 kids. That basically gets rid of the kids killing him, unless there's other motives for them to do it. But so now he knows it can't be them. He meets. This is weird. Some scenes are a little weird, but he kind of meets. He goes to talk to the son, the drunk son, and kind of pushes him around, and it's just kind of like, "Yo, why'd you kill your dad?" kind of thing, getting him out of it. And the drunk kid basically tells him the same thing. And at the same time, what's her face? The lawyer. She comes over and she's kind of like, "Hey, get your hands off of him. You can't mess with his son. We told you to find the killer. Stop messing with his family." That's where he meets Clarissa. And Clarissa seems to be like an antiquities finder for rich people. And she said that she found Kovacs, his sleeve, for Bancroft for a finder's fee. So apparently he's like a big commodity. And he's kind of all weirded out about it. And this whole thing about the party was you have to bring the most unique thing you have. This is for the meths, right? So Kovacs also tells the lawyer that she is a nobody like him and that she's just trying hard to impress the meths, so he needs to lay off of her too, which she doesn't care about. But she tells him, look, you're a piece of garbage and I'm not, and I'm going to be one of these people and you're not. So basically the meths are kind of showing off the unique thing that they have. Elliot's also in the background. You see him kind of sneak into this what looks like the security room. So the montage is while they're talking about all this stuff and they're all entertained by who's doing their show and tell, Elliot's in this back room, comes in and basically infiltrates the security room. And, same thing. He basically puts the guy to sleep with this knife that's got this poison on it, and he starts downloading files off the computer. Meanwhile, Kovacs is watching this whole show and tell thing where this Clarissa chick shows up with this snake and she's like, it was told that human minds or human stacks can't be put into animals, but I put this rapist stack into this snake and it drove him nuts and now he can only live like the snake, which I think is awesome. So it shows how it's weird. It's this nasty rich people thing, but yet you're still kind of well, all right, it's still cruel, but this guy was a rapist, So anyway, Elliot's still downloading the stuff from the security drive, and he can't help Kovacs because Kovacs is watching the couple do the sleeve death, right? They're going to do this big event now after they did their show and tell. And while they start fighting, towards the end of the fight, the husband and the wife, the husband starts beating the crap. Like, he's basically about to kill the wife, right? And Kovac interferes, and he kind of steps in, and they throw him into the ring. So now Inspector Ortega, she's all messed up because she's like, hey, you don't have a permit for this. He's not supposed to be in there. Now she's all freaked out, and he's in there, and he starts fighting with them. Now, he clearly starts kicking their ass because he's a badass, and while he's about to win, Bancroft or somebody throws in this like triple knife thing that really messes up Kovac pretty good. So Elliot comes running in finally with a gun, and Ortega grabs the gun, shoots the glass out that they're in this, big tube arena thing, and that basically like shuts the game down. They fall to the floor. So they fall to the floor, and they're like, fight's over, right? So now the couple is pissed because they're like, hey, what happened? Like, you ruined our sleeves, and now none of us won. So what the hell are we going to do? No one's going to get a new sleeve, and we're not going to get upgraded. And so Kovac does them the solid of killing the husband, and then he tells Bancroft, so you're going to honor your deal, right? You're going to buy this person a new sleeve and get upgraded, right? So he's like, yes, I will do that. He kind of like puts him out there in front of everybody, so the guy's got to like back up his word. So Bancroft, after being humiliated in front of everybody to keep his word, he has a private meeting again with Kovac, and he's kind of like, look, first and foremost, don't mess with my wife. And he's like, why? Were you spying on us? And he's like, no, I don't need to spy on her. I know her. I know she's messing with you because she messes with everybody, but I don't want her messing with you. So he's kind of like, okay, whatever. So finally, Elliot and like Kovac is like, where the hell were you? I almost died because of you. And Elliot's like, well, I was downloading security footage the night Lizzie disappeared because he still thinks Bancroft has something to do with it. So now this whole party like came to a stop because the glass got blown out. The party was ruined. Bancroft is pissed. Kovac got nothing. Ortega got nothing. Elliot got what he thinks is footage. Hopefully it will be. He'll find something out about Bancroft. But basically everything is still up in the air. So after the party, basically Kovac goes back to that jack-off place to visit Ava. No, I'm sorry. She goes to visit Alice. Alice is the stripper that he talked to where Lizzie used to work. So he goes back acting as Ava, which is Lizzie's mom, to try to get more information. Alice lets him in. But when they're about to talk, Alice pulls a freaking needle out and stabs him with some stuff that basically knocks him out. Kovac falls to the ground, and you see basically it's those two thugs that him and Elliot were fighting in the previous episode when Ortega arrested him for organic damage. So we see these guys take him, and he gets dragged away, and next thing you know, he's kind of waking up on a rolling gurney to what looks like a hospital, but I'm thinking it's not a hospital because it looks like a villain that's going with him. So it's like some kind of a hospital lab type thing, and they're kind of like, oh, he's waking up, put him out again. So they knock him out again, and you really don't know where he is. So now you're wondering, like, Kovac is gone. He's been put under. Elliot's out doing his thing. Ortega's doing his thing, but none of them know. Not even Poe, the AI hotel guy, know that Kovac has been taken and put under some kind of like wicked stuff that he keeps getting knocked out. And that's how it ends. That's how it ends. So now we're being left on some good cliffhangers here, because now you're like, all right, now Kovac has been what seems like captured, and we won't know what's going to happen to him. So far, so good. The episode is picking up. The episodes are picking up. The story's picking up. We're starting to get a little deeper. Now that these characters are being established, and now that we know, we saw all the suspects, we saw the family. Well, we met the son, who's like a drunk lunatic kid. We met the daughter, who we have never seen her face because she was in her mom's sleeve. That's Naomi, the 12th daughter. But now we know the kids are out of the picture because they can't kill him because they won't get anything. We heard from all the guests, and that's about it. The only weird thing that happened is that Ortega saw somebody behind a column, and they wear these contacts that like act as like a point of view camera. It records everything. You get data. Kind of cool. So her partner back at the station, she was like, "Hey, what's that? Look at what I just saw." And he's like, "I don't see anything." So she saw something, but he saw nothing, which feels like nothing, but it looked like the guy in episode 2 that was spying on them, the Fu Manchu Asian guy. So something is going to happen. Something's starting to come to like a head here. So what do we got left? We got to watch the next one, right? That was episode 3. I enjoyed it. I think it went well. It's really got me psyched for episode 4 because I think it's going to get even crazier. And that's it. Let's keep this short and sweet. That was episode 3 called In a Lonely Place here on the Netflix series Altered Carbon. Get ready for episode 4 coming up next here on the Solo Set, which is part of the 0DB podcast feed. Don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube. The more subscribes we get, the fun, cooler things I can give you guys, and comments and questions, it'll get out to more people, and more people can get involved and become a nice community. If you want to hear this and not see it, like in your car or at work or running or walking, headphones, check it out on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Podomatic. Those are apps you can download to your phones and check it out. So thanks for watching, everyone. Tune in to the next one. And keep enjoying this Netflix series I'm doing, Altered Carbon, here on the 0DB Movie Podcast feed on the Solo Set. See you later, guys. Thank you.